Good morning. I will often, almost always, begin a homily with something humorous, maybe even a joke. Well, for this homily, the joke was on me. In my preparation 2 weeks ago, I went to the Catholic Bishop's website, and it told me that today's gospel was Mark 12, 28 to 34. I read it over, and for the first time in 25 or so years of writing homilies, I wrote the whole thing in one sitting, start to finish. Good enough to publish. On this past Monday, when I got the rundown from Mary Loris about this week, I saw that actually we are using Matthew 5, 1 to 12. So I learned one lesson and have one request. My lesson is never trust a bishop. My request is that the worship committee call me the next time Mark 12, 28 to 34 comes around. Trust me, it's a good one. And in all seriousness now, let me say that I am honored to be speaking to you today. For me, and I know for many of you, this is the best and most important Mass of the year. Better than Easter, better than Christmas. I say that because on those high holy days, we celebrate the life of our brother Jesus. We celebrate his birth, death, and resurrection. And that is as it should be. But as much as we celebrate Jesus, we can never truly be like him. We can share his life on earth. We can share in his resurrection, and we can share in the divine spark that he gave us. But ultimately, we will never be part of the Trinity. And that may actually be a good thing, especially in my case. There's a lot of responsibility there. What makes this day so important to me is that today we fully celebrate our ancestors in faith, ancient and modern, distant and so close we could and did touch them, knowing that they touched us as well. I don't know everyone in our book of saints. I know some better than others. I know Pat Griffin best of all. And I know that someday you will see my name up on that page. I will be honored that day to be on that page in the company of so many saints and souls. Okay, let me lighten things up a little bit. The Beatitudes is one of those gospel readings that is almost universally known, loved by millions, something that just can't be improved on. And yet, knowing that pride is one of the 7 deadly sins, I'm going to try to improve on it. My suggested improvement is to merely add one more verse. Blessed are the caregivers, for they will rest in God's care. They did have caregivers 2,000 years ago, but I doubt that they had that term, that name. They were fathers, sons, and brothers. They were mothers, daughters, and sisters, wives and husbands, friends. They did the job of caregiving because there was no one else to do it. There weren't long-term care facilities. There weren't nurses to hire for a few hours a day or for all day, day after day. Today, in spite of all the medical, scientific, and economic gains that we've made in the last 2,000 years, caregiving is still mostly done by family and friends at home. In nursing homes, caregiving is mostly done by immigrants, especially African immigrants. At least that is my experience. It is a documented fact and well known in caregiving circles that more often than not, the caregiver dies first. Dad, my kids said to me, trying to get me into counseling, we did the research and the caregivers die first. When I told this to my spiritual director, she said, and those are the ones who don't take care of themselves too. It was caregiving, mostly alone, and in the early years of Judy's dementia, that dragged me into what was at times a pretty deep depression. With the help of support groups, both formal and informal, blessings to you, Chet Myers, and finding the right medication, and most especially because of all you here who prayed for me and Judy, I can say that I have been depression-free for about 2 months now. From my experience, there is a paradox of caregiving. It will cause depression, but it also relieves your depression. At least it did for me. I found that no matter the level of depression, it would disappear when I could visit Judy, when I could walk with her, read to her. It was a good incentive to schedule the next visit. I know that there are caregivers in this community. Some of you have had it much harder than me, a few perhaps easier. Some of you I know, others I don't. But if you are walking that path alone, find someone to walk with you. Let someone be the face of God for you. Talk to them, and through them, you will rest in God's care. I'll try to wrap this up before it becomes the gospel according to Thomas. Judy has lost a lot in these last 5 years. She doesn't speak. She has to be fed. She needs help dressing and undressing. For the most part, she exists only in the moment, from moment to moment. But one thing she still holds on to, perhaps the only thing she still holds on to, is the love that we shared and still share. Her love turned me into a better man, made me want to be a better man. It's why I tell people that Judy and I are one of the great love stories of the 21st century. So to quote the prophet Lou Gehrig, when he retired 82 years ago from the Yankees after being diagnosed with ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease, I'm the luckiest man on the face of the earth. So I am done. Let us continue our prayer today in unity with all we named today, in unity with the poor in spirit, in unity with those who hunger for justice, the peacemakers, the caregivers. Amen.